I got a question for you. What would you do if you saw a fight happening and saw someone being arrested? Would you step in or would you step back? Or be involved in an investigation? That's exactly what happened 3 years, almost 18 years ago here in Flower Bluff. On Waldron Road, right outside Whataburger. A young woman was asked to show her ID. But when she said that she didn't want to give out ID unless she was being charged with something, this was an officer from the district attorney's office. Now, he said that you're fixed to be charged for using an ID. The officer called for backup to the CCPD. She was arrested for failure to refusing the ID when she was not being charged with something. So, at that time, this video was released with over 23 million views for part 1. Part 2 is over 240K. And part 3 has 48,000 views. Just a minute, I'm going to play the clip from Channel 3. Let's take a look at all 3 parts of the video. Here's part 1.
And I still need to know what I'm being charged for.
You're fixing to be charged with faking the ID. What you're fixing to be.
Sir, but I don't have to provide you with an ID unless I'm being charged with something and I have done nothing
Where
wrong.
did you go to law school?
I don't have to answer. I plead the 5th.
Now, what makes you think you're fixing to get a fair ID?
Sir, unless you're charging me with something, I do not have to provide you with an ID.
Now here's part 2.
Sit on my car. You both, yeah. Sit on my car. Sorry. I know. That's okay.
This one right here is a jailhouse lawyer refusing the ID.
I will, no problem. I will give my ID if I'm being charged with something. I don't have to show my ID unless I'm being charged with something. That is the law.
There's a probable cause for us to be out here.
Yes, sir.
I want to know who you are. So I'm requesting your ID. You failed ID, I'm going to take you into jail. And that's law.
That's the law?
That's the law.
What's your name, sir?
Lockhart.
What's your number? I'm sorry, I don't have a good video.
1064.
1064? Lockhart? Okay. So what's my charge?
You're not being charged with anything.
Then I don't have to show you my ID, sir.
You're involved in an investigation. You want to interfere with the investigation? You're going to jail for interfering with a police officer in performance of an investigation. Do you understand that?
Sir,
Do you understand that? Yes or no?
I plead the 5th.
You plead the 5th? Let me have your ID.
Sarge, can I go on?
No.
I'm going to take a step back because I'm feeling threatened. You are an armed civilian, sir.
Please.
No.
So here's the third part to this. She's arrested.
Take a step back because I'm feeling threatened. You are an armed civilian, sir.
Please.
No, you can't do this. This is illegal.
Hey, she didn't
Lay
do
off of her.
nothing. She didn't
Oh, yeah, okay.
Lanisa, chill.
Lawyer.
Lanisa, please.
Lawyer.
Lanisa, just chill. Lanisa,
Please.
Lanisa, just chill, please.
I understand.
I did nothing
I understand
wrong.
You didn't.
I did nothing
wrong.
wrong.
I know you didn't, babe. I know.
Failed
You in a
ID.
fight?
I did not.
He wasn't in a fight.
I wasn't in a fight.
He wasn't in a fight.
I know,
We were trying.
First off, the yelling doesn't get you.
Alright, now here's the report from Bill Churchwell.
It happened back in August, but the video of the encounter was recently posted in the last few days and has made the rounds online.
So I'm requesting your ID. You failed ID, I'm going to take you into jail. And that's law.
That's the law.
That's the law.
What's your name, sir?
Lockhart.
What's my charge?
You're not being charged with anything.
Then I don't have to show you my ID, sir.
You're involved in an investigation. You want to interfere with the investigation? You're going to jail for interfering with a police officer in performance of an investigation. Do you understand that?
Sir,
Now, just before this, the woman was restrained by an off-duty officer with the district attorney's office who called CCPD for backup to help with the fight investigation. The woman tells 3 News tonight that she was trying to leave the parking lot when the fight broke out, but according to police, the woman was involved in the fight and failed to ID herself to the officers. Watch what happens next.
I'm going to take a step back because I'm feeling threatened. You are an armed civilian, sir.
please.
No, you can't do this. This is illegal.
She didn't
Lay
do
off of her.
nothing. She didn't.
Lanisa, chill.
Lawyer.
Now you can see right there, the woman was allegedly placed in a chokehold by the off-duty officer with the district attorney's office. District Attorney Mark Skirka had no comment on the video or the actions of the officer today. In a statement to 3 News, the woman says she was eventually released and not arrested. She claims that she was asked by the Corpus Christi police officer to delete the video. Now, in a statement just released from CCPD, it states that members of the Corpus Christi Police Department do not interfere with citizens who wish to photograph or record officers in public spaces. It also says that the woman was detained based on the incident and not due to the fact that she was videotaping the officers.
Well, what about getting her ID? Did they say anything about that? About whether that is required?
Well, that is required. Whether you're a witness or involved in that incident, you are required to tell officers who you are.
Okay.
And she's like saying, nope. When did she go to law school? But here's the common sense alert. Here's the common sense. Here's the common sense and here's the law, along with the common sense. The current Texas law defines the offense of failure to identify in Penal Code Section 38.02 as follows. Subsection A says, a person commits an offense if he intentionally refuses to give his name, residence, address, or date of birth to a peace officer who is lawfully arrested the person and requesting information. Now, can you arrest him? Ask for ID. Texas law only requires that you show your ID to a police officer under certain circumstances. These circumstances include after you've been arrested, when you're driving, and when you're carrying a handgun. Did you carry a handgun? No. Did you drive? No. Was she arrested? Well, she failed the ID? Yes. So, there's that common sense. And I really hope that if she watched this, she can come on the show and tell us out of the story. Still ahead, a mother's choice. My life or my baby's. This woman gave birth and she died after the birth. Now, this father's being the single father. You'll hear both sides of the tale. Come out next. It's been 28 years since Selena Quintanilla was murdered at the hands of Yolanda Saldivar. And for 6 years, we focused in on the evidence, the blood on the shoes and the door. Now, you're gonna hear from the killer back in 1995 when Deborah Roberts interviewed her at the Texas Women's Jail. Selena's killer. Stay with us. Up front tonight, it's been 28 years since Selena Quintanilla was murdered by the hands of Yolanda Saldivar, the woman who killed that Mexican singer with Mexican salsa. But there's a lot more details in this. Years ago, there's been a lot more evidence from the blood on the shoes, from the blood, from the gun. Now, what I have not played you was the interview was back in 1995 when Yolanda Saldivar told her side of the story. She insisted that she did not kill Selena, but was she hiding something else? Maybe a secret. Only she knows for sure. Tonight, you are going to hear from the killer. You're also going to hear from the family from years ago. Did she kill Selena? Or was there a terrible secret that happened? Just a terrible secret that happened. Here's Deborah Roberts.
35-year-old Yolanda Saldivar is beginning a life behind bars. 2 months ago, a jury found her guilty of first-degree murder of Mexican-American singing sensation Selena. She was given a life sentence that's 30 years before a chance of parole. Saldivar will spend those years in a Texas women's prison under heavy guard, isolated from other inmates who may want revenge against her. She never testified during her trial, but Saldivar agreed to tell us her side of the story. We hope to make some sense of a killing that has wounded and bewildered Selena's family and fans.
They have made me out to be a monster. And I just want to say, I did not kill Selena. It was an accident. And my conscience is clear.
Selena was only 23 when she died at the hands of Saldivar. She was a Grammy-winning, undisputed queen of Tejano music. A lively mix of European sounds and Mexican salsa that was rapidly crossing into the mainstream because of Selena's popularity. The spirited young singer began her career as a child, performing in the family band formed by her father, himself a singer in his youth. Selena's flashy style and powerful vocals lifted her family out of poverty. In the last year of her life, she was a millionaire who was on the verge of a crossover career. And Yolanda Saldivar thought so too. She sought out Selena in 1991 in the family's hometown of Corpus Christi, offering to form a fan club. Soon, she was always at the singer's side, even quitting her nursing job to work full-time for Selena and run her new boutique business.
She was like a cuddling bear, teddy bear, that she would allow you to love her. I told her that I loved her like a daughter. And she goes, you know, I give you that right. She would call me Mom on the phone.
She called your mom?
Yeah, she says, hi Mom, how you doing?
Selena's parents questioned whether their daughter called Saldivar Mom, but says she was close to the family until early this year. That's when Abraham Quintanilla, Selena's father and business manager, says he discovered forged checks and other evidence that Saldivar was embezzling money from both the fan club and the boutiques. In March, both he and Selena confronted Saldivar.
My last words with her was that I was going to go to the police to see what we could do, to charge her with something. She was stealing money. And this triggered the woman.
That day, March 9th, he says Saldivar left town with Selena's business records. 4 days later, she bought a gun. On March 31st, Saldivar returned to Corpus Christi and asked Selena to meet her at the Days Inn Motel. She told her to come alone. The two women argued, and suddenly there was a gunshot. An injured and hysterical Selena raced from the motel room to the lobby, where she collapsed.
And that shot caused Selena to bleed to death as she was running toward the lobby. She just bled to death.
Prosecutor Carlos Valdez pieced together a motive.
The defendant had wrapped up her whole life around Selena Quintanilla Perez. Her whole world was walking out the door and she wouldn't stand for it, so she shot her.
Just keep her alive and enjoy her music.
The grief-stricken Mexican-American community mourned Selena as an idolized daughter or sister. Thousands turned out for a candlelight vigil, saying goodbye to a shining young role model who never forgot her roots. The one thing no one disputes is what ultimately happened here at the Days Inn in room 158. It was Yolanda Saldivar who fired the single gunshot that killed the young singer. But why the shooting happened is still the subject of intense speculation, weeks after the jury's conviction. The prosecution contends it was a case of cold-blooded murder committed by an obsessed fan out for revenge. But Saldivar insists it was all a tragic accident, a story she still stands by today. What happened that morning when Selena arrived? Did she say she wanted to fire you?
Never. She never told me that. I was telling her to leave. And I said, it's over, Selena. It's over. I can't work for you no more. I can't work for you no more. She went down. She grabbed my feet and told me not to leave her. And I picked her up and I told her, just leave. And I grabbed the gun, put it to my head. I pulled the thing back. And I said, if you don't leave, I'm gonna do it, Selena. And she got up and she says, Mom, we need to talk about this. We need to talk about this. I'm gonna close the door. And when she was walking to the door, she was going at an angle. And I told her, don't close the door. And in that instant, the gun went off.
But why didn't it hit you?
Because I was pointing to the door and it just went.
Did you know she was hit?
No, I did not know.
There was blood along the door seal.
I didn't even look at the door.
But there was blood all over the room. How could you not see it?
The pictures that I see, they're dots.
Saldivar left the blood-spattered room and headed to her car with the gun still in her hand. She said she was looking for Selena. The next 9 hours became a standoff with police. Saldivar sat in her car, gun to her head, negotiating into the night before finally giving herself up.
Many people have wondered that if you were really trying to kill yourself, why didn't you commit suicide when you were in the car all those 9.5 hours?
There were many things going through my mind. I could hear her in my mind telling me, stay behind. Stay behind. I hear her tell me, you don't commit suicide because I'll never see you in heaven.
Jurors didn't believe Saldivar. It took them less than 3 hours to convict her. Prosecutor Valdez insists there was no evidence of an accidental shooting.
This was a simple case of cold-blooded murder. There was an intent involved, and she did exactly what she set out to do.
Despite all the evidence against her, Saldivar gives a strikingly different account of the shooting and the weeks that led up to it, contradicting witnesses and the Quintanilla family.
Did you steal any money from Selena's business?
No, ma'am. Not ever.
Can you tell me if you were angry? Frustrated?
No, I was never angry. I was never frustrated.
Quintanilla, now living with the silence of his daughter's empty recording studio, says his documents prove that Saldivar embezzled more than $100,000 from Selena. He also says he was increasingly bothered by Saldivar's possessiveness toward his daughter.
And I did start noticing an obsession with Selena. In my opinion, she was living her life through Selena. Here you have a person that's nowhere in life. Right before she killed Selena, I found out that she was stalking Selena by phone.
There were allegations that you were in love with her.
And that's not true either. And if people think that Selena and I had a lesbian relationship, you're not a fan of Selena.
Why did you decide you needed a gun?
It was after threats had been made against my life.
Who threatened you?
Her father.
Abraham Quintanilla threatened you?
Yes.
Quintanilla insists he never threatened Saldivar. He's convinced that she bought the gun to kill Selena.
She saw me as the person who initiated this. And she saw me as the enemy. How much more could she hurt us than killing Selena?
Is there any way Selena or her family could have seen this kind of a death coming?
No.
No tips, no clues?
No.
Forensic psychologist Dr. Reed Malloy, though he never examined Saldivar, we asked him to take a look at our interview with her for any hints of obsessive homicidal behavior. He says the strongest clue is that she brought a gun to the final meeting.
Why is there a loaded gun there when perhaps there's a job termination? And two, why does she put the gun to her head in order to end the relationship? Those two are strikingly abnormal and are usually absent in any kind of relationship ending.
Dr. Malloy says Saldivar appears to fit a pattern of an obsessive personality. We ask him about her claim that it was she who was ending the relationship instead of Selena.
I told her no, that it was over.
Now, Yolanda is describing here the exact opposite of what Selena's family has described.
Yes, sometimes there's a reversal in these cases of roles. And what we may be seeing here is the person that's about to be abandoned, in order to understand it or justify it in her own mind, becomes the person in the position of doing the abandoning.
So her version turns everything around.
Exactly, the roles shift and the roles alter, and we have tragedy.
He was particularly struck by Saldivar's answer to our next question.
If you could go back and do something differently on that morning of March 31st, what would you do?
I would want her to kill me.
Dr. Malloy says that's an indication that Saldivar expected one of them to die that day.
Instead of her saying, I wish we were both safe and nothing had happened, instead she has to direct the aggression toward herself rather than Selena.
So you think that it appears that she was considering suicide here?
I think so. I think so. That's why these situations are extremely dangerous and unpredictable, because that homicidal impulse is shifting rapidly between the wish to kill the self and the wish to kill the other.
And there were just seconds there to determine who was going to die.
Perhaps even less than that.
Throughout our interview, Saldivar kept referring to a mysterious deep secret that she shares with Selena. She says they even talked about it on the day of the murder.
You talked about a secret, that you're protecting a secret.
That's true.
What secret?
I can't indulge that at this point because my case is in appeal. But I know that one day people will know.
Let's stop it there. I don't know if there's a secret, but I do know that by her saying she has a secret, she maintains a special, exclusive relationship with Selena that nobody else has.
Even now?
Even now.
Yolanda, whether it was accidental or whether it was intentional, you were responsible for Selena's death. How do you live with that?
It was an accident. I'm dead inside. I have no feelings. I'm like a walking shell. Selena will always be a daughter for me. She will always be that gentle child I never had. And I thank her for it.
There's a link to Selena now that nobody can devalue nor remove. Through one act, she has now established a notoriety that will remain, and her name will be linked to Selena's memory. And that, for her, in a sense, reestablishes that special fantasy.
All right. Now, after that report aired, you've heard Deborah say that she's serving a life sentence for 30 years. Now, 1995, she could be released back in 2025. That's 30 years. But who do you think? Did she kill her? I believe she did. All the evidence would point out to the shoes, the blood. She got the gun. But I still don't believe the story of her killing herself. Now, if she hadn't killed herself, if Yolanda killed herself, Selena may still be alive. That would have ended the relationship right there. Come out next. It's a mother's choice. My life or my baby's. Jane Pauly with the extraordinary story of a mother's decision. Stay with us. If you were wanting a baby but months and years away, months away turn into years, you're about to meet this next couple who really wanted a baby so bad. But there was an odd twist to this. The mother you're about to meet had to make a real choice. It was a mother's choice. Would it be my life or my baby's? Here's Jane Pauly.
Come on. It's beautiful. I promise you.
Barbara Barton looks the picture of a radiant mother-to-be. But behind the smiling face lies a heart full of worries.
Dad, come show us for Tommy.
We've been married 12 and a half years and have never done anything to stop a pregnancy, and it took 8 years for Taylor.
Hi.
Jeff and Barbara Barton of Eugene, Oregon, had wanted a family from the start. And 3 years after Taylor, their first child was born, when they were nearly ready to give up on a second baby and a bigger family, there it was.
She had a positive home test, and so we went down and got that blood test and came back home and waited for a call.
Were you here when the call came?
Yeah, I heard the phone ring. Thought, oh, here it is. I was smiling to myself. And a minute or so later, Taylor came out. Said, Daddy, Mommy need you right away. And so I thought, well, it's negative.
Jeff was wrong. His 35-year-old wife was pregnant. But there was another piece of news that day.
Barb was on the couch and was upset. And I just said, so it's negative. She said, no, it's not. She says, what does this mean? My white cells are extremely elevated. When they say it's elevated, it could mean, it could be an infection. It could be a lot of things.
Even though Barbara had no symptoms, she and Jeff feared the worst. They'd met at Sacred Heart Hospital in Eugene. Jeff, an ICU nurse's aide, Barbara, a medical transcriptionist. After working in a hospital for more than 10 years, they had seen this before.
December 8th.
In her diary, Barbara wrote of her growing concern.
Very upset.
Very upset.
Several
sinking dark moments.
I feel
like it would be easier if I would just have an accident. Dr. James Fitzgibbons confirmed their suspicions. It was leukemia, a cancer that affects the blood. Barbara's white blood cell count was 20 times normal. It seemed nature was playing a mean trick.
This is the only case I've seen of chronic leukemia during pregnancy. It's been reported it does occur, but it's very rare.
The Bartons had no time to celebrate the news of a second baby. Their focus quickly shifted to Barbara's fight against this often fatal disease.
Cross-match.
The most aggressive treatment was a bone marrow transplant, the doctor told them. But that posed a cruel dilemma.
If she chooses transplantation, then she would need to have an abortion.
A fetus could not survive the heavy doses of chemotherapy and radiation. What's more, even if it worked, the treatment would leave Barbara sterile. She would never have another child. Her best chance at life carried a high price.
December 9th.
December 9th, 1993.
Too hard to write about.
Too hard to write about feelings. Hard to face up to it. Jeff and I are both feeling very weak-kneed. We're in shock. Did you presume at that time that you would have to terminate the pregnancy?
I was concerned about that. We had questions about that. I asked Barb, this is your body. Yeah, we've been trying, but you're my wife. That is my first concern.
Barbara wasn't sure what to do. Postponing the transplant for 8 months till the baby was born certainly reduced the odds. But the effect of the pregnancy on the cancer, that was the big unknown. Should she bet her own life she'd beat the odds?
I consider about a 50% chance of cure with bone marrow transplantation. She's a young person and had been in good health, and I think she thought that her chances were probably much better than 50-50.
Piper Shanks worked at the hospital too. She and Barbara were best friends and confidants since junior high school. Is it your impression that Barbara ever seriously considered having an abortion?
Oh yeah, and she agonized over it. I mean, it was like, what if I die and leave Jeff with this baby and with Taylor? Will he be able to handle it? And what is he going to do? And in fact, one day she was kind of mad at Jeff because Jeff wouldn't tell her to abort.
Our first visit with the Bartons occurred at approximately 9 weeks pregnant.
Then came more news from neonatal specialist Dr. David Jackson, a thunderbolt, which seemed to settle the matter, for Barbara at least.
And we had the opportunity then to immediately identify 2 sacs containing the twins.
December 14th, 1993. Next surprise in our life, twins. All Jeff could do was cry. What a wild week. How did that change things when you found out and there were 2 little hearts flashing?
As soon as he said, it looks like we have twins, she turned her head around and looked at the screen, a big old smile on her face, and I knew there was nothing more to be said. We went home, called everybody. It's twins, it's twins.
Why did 2 babies have so much more impact than one might have?
She looked at it like, it's difficult for me to get pregnant. What timing? This is a gift from God.
It was a sign.
Yeah. So she wanted to give them everything she could.
Barbara made up her mind. She was going to have it all, beat the cancer and have her babies too. She decided to hold off on the potentially life-saving bone marrow transplant until after the twins were born. In the meantime, her doctor began a less aggressive cancer regimen 3 times a week.
We initially chose leukapheresis, which is where large amounts of white blood cells are filtered off the blood. It turned out to be very hard on her. Her veins were clotting off. The
January 13th and 14th, 1994. Miserable. Sore neck and back. Generally wiped out. first trimester, Dr. Fitzgibbon switched the treatment to a form of chemotherapy, not without risk to the fetuses, but less toxic than some.
She tolerated it very well. Blood counts came down to satisfactory levels, and the ultrasounds showed good progress of the fetuses.
And more good news. Her younger brother was a perfect match for the bone marrow transplant she'd have once the babies were born. It seemed another sign she'd made the right choice.
Right around spring of last year, and she was doing okay, and she was working a little bit here and there. Planted all of her bulbs and got the garden going, and was excited about being pregnant and not thinking about the leukemia.
Someone who was planting bulbs in the soil was someone who was still very connected. And that's really what sustained her, isn't it? The shred of hope that she could have it all. A cure, a family with 3 children, a loving husband, and a long life.
Right. That was what we were really striving to do. It's never a guarantee.
July 13th, 1994, a boy named Hunter and a girl named Mackenzie were born. 7 pounds 4 ounces and 6 pounds 11 ounces, respectively. Both were healthy, although Mackenzie was born with a cleft palate that doctors say was unrelated to Barbara's cancer treatments and can be corrected later. Were you happy?
Very.
Cigars and...
Yeah. Passed out 1 or 2 of those, but I was relieved that now we can go on and, okay, the pregnancy's done. And we're going to go to phase 2 here, and that is to get rid of the leukemia.
Barbara had just 2 weeks with her newborn babies when she started running a constant fever and her white blood cell count soared. It was the leukemia calling, with a vengeance.
That's what they called a blast crisis, and as I understand it, this is that phase that we took the chance on, and it's still very feasible for the bone marrow transplant to work. It just means we have to go now.
We have to go now.
Right. We left that night.
But you had 2 babies and a 4-year-old.
A 4-year-old that we had to explain that mommy is leaving and will be gone for a long time.
With only hours' notice, Piper Shanks fit newborn twins and a 4-year-old into her busy life and small home, while Jeff shuttled between Eugene and Stanford Medical Center in California. Nobody could guess how long that arrangement would last.
So the question is, could Barbara survive that transplant and still be with her sons? With the 4-year-old and the twins? Or will the cancer beat her and leave Jeff being the single father? When we come back, the conclusion to this remarkable story. If you're in Jeff's shoes, what would you do? And you'll also hear more of that diary and see the blankets and see that 4-year-old with Jane as it goes on. Stay with us. Before we continue with A Mother's Choice, let's bring you up to speed on that Denver school shooting. This is from Fox 31. In case you didn't know, it was just almost 2 weeks ago there was a school shooting in Denver, Colorado. Now, the very latest from Denver, this was released just 2 days ago as an article approached. Policy and review after 14 teachers left campus during that school shooting threat. The Thompson School District confirmed that more than a dozen teachers left campus during a shooting threat at Loveland High School on Wednesday. A district spokesman said 14 teachers departed from Loveland High School campus while school was still in session following a safe-to-tell tip about planned shooting at the school. The lack of communication has drawn backlash from parents questioning why teachers left before school was officially canceled. A school district spokesman declined to comment on a school protocol during active shooter investigations, clean school safety. He added that district staff are currently in the process of engaging in partnering with Loveland High School staff to reflect and review the protocols as we move forward. Justin hopes it will serve a lesson for future threats. Where's the common sense in all this? I don't know what to say here. I mean, if it's a teacher's choice, it's a teacher's choice. And I understand there's an old saying, when you choose the behavior, you choose the consequences. That's probably the old saying here. Nothing new in Oxford, nothing new from Nashville, but there's anybody who lives in Nashville, I'll let you know. When we come back, that mother's choice, will Barbara survive that transplant? Or will Jeff have to be a single father?
I needed to know what Barb wanted of the kids, what she wanted of me. Is there anything you would like to tell me? Kind of a conversation. And that no, nobody's giving up.
Stay with us. And now the conclusion to our story. It's been 2 weeks since the twins were born. Remember, the doctor said she had determined the pregnancy in order for the transplant to happen. But Barbara decided to fight the cancer. Now with the twins born and the white cells elevating up, will she survive? Will she survive this transplant? Or will Jeff have to be a single father? Once again, here's Jane Pauling.
It's now August 13th. A lot has happened.
With an urgency no one expected, Barbara Barton began getting ready for her long-postponed bone marrow transplant at Stanford Medical Center.
We arrived
Wednesday, had multiple tests, visit with the doctor, and after the blood test, they decided to admit me. Her diary shows her focus totally on attacking the cancer and getting well. Only 25% of bone marrow transplants are successful once the leukemia reaches a crisis phase. But it seemed Barbara's was a success. The next weeks would be critical.
It takes about 100 days for her immune system going well to recoup enough that she could go back home.
Weeks turned into months. But then Barbara contracted a stubborn virus. Her weakened immune system couldn't seem to fight it off.
The doctors pulled me aside and just said there is virtually no chance that she's going to survive this, and that although her chances are extremely low, they're not at zero yet.
Uncertain about Barbara's future, Jeff decided his family needed to be together. Shortly before Christmas last year, Jeff brought his wife home to the hospital in Eugene.
And there's this song that you sing to children that always breaks my heart, and it's not supposed to. It's she always comes back, she always comes back. She never would forget me. And sometimes mummies don't come back.
I tried to be as honest with Taylor and in her level as I could. I just said, Mommy's very sick. And that I don't know if she's going to come home. We certainly are trying to do that, but sometimes Jesus needs very special people to be with him. And that your mommy is a very special person, and she may have to leave.
Hoping for the best but preparing for the worst, Barbara called Jeff and her friend Piper Shanks to her bedside. Another friend, Kit Fisher, was there as a witness to a meeting that ultimately would raise as many questions as it answered. What do you remember Barbara specifically saying?
She was a matter of fact about that she wanted those children to remain with Jeff. She wanted Piper to be their mother figure, their nurturer.
Is that a phrase she used, mother figure?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We talked about the possibilities of other family members taking different children or splitting them up and that kind of thing, and she was very opposed to that. She didn't want that to happen.
2 weeks later, at the end of January, Barbara Barton died in the hospital where her babies were born. Hunter and Mackenzie were then 7 months old. Taylor was 4.
When Barb passed away, I took her into a room and said Jesus needed mommy. And that she's asleep and won't be coming home. I took her in there and she kissed her goodbye. That was all she needed to see.
Barbara left her husband Jeff a beautiful legacy.
Hunter is real easy to get to smile. He's just a real crack up. Mackenzie's a lot like Barb. She's hot-tempered at times. She's funny at times. He is me, and she is her.
Hi, Kinsey.
All right, here we go.
Taylor lives at home with her father, but Jeff says it's too soon after Barbara's death to handle the responsibility of 3. So the twins still live with Piper.
Good stuff, huh? Yeah, were you hungry, baby?
For now, Jeff grieves for his wife and struggles with the decisions they made, but says one day his family will be together again.
The kids will be coming back over here, but it would be very detrimental to the twins to pull them and just yank them from where they're at, so it has to be done slowly.
When we moved into the house, they were really...
But Piper is making long-term plans to keep the twins at her house. With her 3 sons, age 11 to 16,
this is one crowded room.
in her home, which is packed floor to ceiling with baby things. She's hoping for a formal arrangement. She wants joint custody.
I think he very much plans on it being 50-50.
What if he changes his mind, Piper? Are you going to hold him to decisions that he's made in crisis? Or are you open to the possibility that he might say, me and my kids need to be under the same roof and we love you, Piper?
Well, yeah, and I told him one of my greatest fears is when they're 5 years old, he says, okay, you did a good job, thanks for your help, and I'm getting remarried and see you later. And he's...
Well, that's not out of the realm of possibility.
It's not.
And if he did, a new wife might not want joint custody.
Right.
You know?
But that's why I want to protect us from the very beginning and make sure if we've written up some kind of legal arrangements. And Jeffrey, one thing Jeff is faithful. And I mean, he was faithful to Barb through this whole thing. I think he will be true to her wishes.
It was Barbara's idea that that Piper wouldn't just mind the children for the time being, but that she would be almost a co-parent.
That was my understanding. And maybe not on paper. I don't know. We're still discussing that.
Barbara never planned on not being there for her children and her husband. Jeff never planned on being left alone to care for them. Now the legacy of a mother's choice is a father's challenge.
How are you there, Hunter Bob?
Their mother's presence is all over this house. Photographs on the wall, the quilts that she made with her own hands, and...
Yeah, they'll never wonder who their mother was, and I will make darn sure that they know what she did. I have some of the quilts that I have put away for them later.
I mean, talk about a mother's love enveloping a child. The blanket that she made with her own hands. When did she make this?
She made this while she was pregnant. And it was for the babies. Never got to use it for them, but...
Do they say much? Candy and Henry say Mama?
The twins are beginning to talk. They're calling Piper Mama. And Jeff says Taylor seems to be adjusting as well as a 4-year-old could to losing her mother.
Do you know what to do with this?
And on this first glorious spring day, Jeff too seems like a man starting to come back to life.
I'm doing better. I keep myself busy. The twins and Taylor keep me busy. The times where I do really bad, where I live 1 second at a time, and I can literally just collapse and give up, or I can fight this, and in order for me to fight that, I've got to take a deep breath. And you get through those times. It's that promise that I made Barb that I would go on and I would fight this and I would do okay.
One final note. Jeff can count on some financial help from a fund set up for the kids, but it won't pay the medical bills he's been left with. Bills that now total more than $500,000.
What a great story. It's been one of the stories I'm waiting to show you for 6 years. This is one of the stories I never get to show you. And one of the stories you'll get to see soon, I've showed you my reaction to the Dateline show on the Family Feud, to where Diane, Ken, Weber, so-and-so. Now you'll get to see it for the first time. You saw my reactions. Now you get to see the story. Along with the foster system. And baby Gregory. But like I said before, this was a mother's choice. And it seems like the mother made the right choice, the wrong choice here. But hadn't she terminated the pregnancy, she would have survived. She would have survived this. And probably not have twins. So that's really something to look forward to. Okay, here. Okay. I'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us. Well, 5 years ago, I explained to you all the difference between ISS and OSS. But there's one video I've not showed you. This one. Take a look.
Hello, I'm Mr. Williams, the teacher of ISS, or in-school suspension. I'm here to talk to you about the class expectations and the dress code. Class expectations. Upon entering the room, all cell phones, iPods, earbuds, and any other electronic device will be turned in and will be stored under lock and key, kept there for the duration of the academic day. Backpacks and purses are not allowed at the school, but if you brought a backpack or a purse, it will be searched, it will be turned in, and it will be kept for the duration of the day. Upon entering the room, you will be assigned a seat, and that will be your seat, and you will sit there unless instructed to sit in a different location. There will be no talking. There will be no socializing throughout the academic day unless instructed either by myself or a supervising teacher or staff. There will be no outside food. So in other words, there will be no McDonald's, no hot Cheetos, no Arizona tea or Monster brought to you by yourself or by someone else. You will always be supervised by a supervising teacher or myself at all times. It is a district policy that anyone that is in ISS do not have any socialization or communication with an AFC student, a Cal student, or a Fairview student. Dress code. The dress code is you will wear the white shirt and yellow tie that was issued to you. It will be tucked in. You will wear the appropriate pants and shorts for the school. There will be absolutely no sagging in this class. There will be no open-toe shoes, slippers, or sandals worn in ISS. There will be no basketball shorts. There will be no sweatpants or pajamas worn in ISS. All earrings, gauges, or piercings will be taken out prior to entering the room. And finally, there will be no hats, beanies, or any type of headgear worn inside the classroom. Any violation of the expectations or the dress code will result in an immediate phone call home or a visit by the principal or assistant principal, and in worst case, you will receive another day in ISS. Thank you for showing up. Let us be cool, and finally take care of business. Thank you.
So that's the reason why ISS
Things
is better.
good down here right now, Principal Morrison.
That's why ISS is better than OSS. OSS is like a day off of school. What do you mean suspended? But here's when you have an ISS teacher in school, but it's with the cool teacher. Take a look at this. And then we'll take a break.
Things good down here right now, Principal Morrison. 10-4. What you need? You gotta use the bathroom? Come here. Let me give you your pads. Come here. Come here. Don't be gone too long. Go ahead. It ain't too many of y'all in here. Now, I ain't too hard on y'all. Alright? Because I know some of y'all. Some of y'all are repeat offenders. Okay? So listen, look, I need y'all to be a little bit more quiet because you know the principal roaming the hallway. Yeah, and there's not a lot of y'all in here, so she gonna know. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna need y'all to shh. Alright? And some of y'all got y'all's phones because this ain't y'all's first rodeo. Yeah, I know, but I ain't gonna say nothing. I ain't even see nothing happen. Right? So I'm gonna need y'all to be more discreet with it. If you're gonna check your phone, don't have it all up in your face. Because they watching. Even when they're not watching, they watching. Chris, come here. Come here. What in the world did you do to get 2 weeks ISS? 2 weeks, Chris? I mean, come on now, bro. Come on, I thought we was doing good. Come on now, we're damn near friends, Chris. Chris, you was smoking in the bathroom? What was you smoking? Okay, vape, baby. It ain't that bad, it's just vape. Come on now, you gotta do better. Come on, I'll be rooting for you. I'll be taking up for you. Yeah, they be talking about your principal. And God's counsel. Lord have mercy. They be like, he this, he that. I be like, no, you know you got a lot going on at home. You know, I be having your back. Come on now, do better. Do better. I don't want to see you in here no more. All right? I don't want to see you in here no more. Hey, where you going? Come here. Come back. Come back. Come back.
Now that is why cool teachers never need an ISS. I mean, if you're a teacher in ISS, you need to be supervising the kids, not allowing them on their phones, talking and all. Otherwise, that person could be suspended. Coming up, a teacher breaks up a fight like a boss with over 100,000 views. Stay with us. It's viral break time. In this next video, this teacher breaks up a fight like a boss. And this has over 1.8 million views in the past 11 years. Take a look.
You boys are pissing me off! Hey, both of y'all. Listen, quit something out of my house. Anthony, shut up and sit down before I make a change out of you and you. If you don't take that mess over there right now, it's not like you're gonna push through me to get to him, you ain't. So take it over there. If you can't squash it like gentlemen and get out of his face, get out of mine and get over there. Take it, Anthony. Now, you want to squash this, use that off campus. Y'all don't do that in here. And whatever makes you believe you could, we can squash this right now. Get back up, you got something else to say. Come back this way, you got something else to say. Anybody else? Trust me, we take to the grass. Trust me. It's been that kind of Tuesday. You're too young, and life is too short for y'all to be selling out with that kind of nonsense. This ain't no creep blood kind of nonsense. It ain't nothing so crucial. We can't talk it out and get out. I said, take out some paper. You got a mini mission.
Wow. Somebody should give that teacher a medal because he broke up the fight like a boss, man. That teacher should earn a freaking medal here. That's the teacher right there. And if he came to Corpus and I met him, damn. He'd earn a medal like that like a boss. Like a boss. Coming up on Game Break Monday. Do you own a smoke detector? What if I told you you need 2 types of smoke detector and you need a smoke detector for every room in the house? Bedroom, bathroom, kitchen, hallways, everywhere. Every smoke detector in every room could help save your life. Also, learning all about fire safety. We talked about fire drills. Now it's all about the fire safety. That's on Monday. That's Give Me a Break for this Saturday night. We'll see you again for Give Me a Break. We'll see you again for Give Me a Break Monday. For everyone here at YouTube, good night. Also, here's a preview of our next viral break. Actually, let me play you guys this last one. And then we'll wrap it up. Let me just play this last one. I'm going to wrap it up.
It's cheating! You just bought a $400 property with no $500 bills. Then you got another $100 property. Now you gonna buy houses next? This is really the whole problem. Where the finish come from? I'm quit. You never had no 50s in your hand. I quit. You didn't have 150 in your hand. I got the 50 from the middle. She paid 75 for this nigga is cheating. I quit, man. I quit, though. I can't get him enough. I quit, Skane. I quit. I'm not about to argue with you.
That's our next viral break. Good night, everyone.